It's always good to have you. You've been outspoken about what that balance is between opening and watching your hospital capacity. I mean, you've had comments on Twitter. You've walked some back. I wonder where your thinking is right now.
Well, I mean, looking at the numbers, it looks like this, for the world, this is sort of a moderate flu season. For the U.S., it's a slightly higher than average flu season. And for New York, it's a much higher than average flu season. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that it is possible that this was a major policy mistake. And I think it's an interesting sociological experiment. I think tech stocks all the virtual stocks have done very well, and all of the economy is being pummeled because of this policy. And I think basically economic activity brings prosperity and it increases and extends lives. We have just put a clamp down on the economy, and we're not only losing economic value, but I think we're losing our herd immunity, because flus, they mutate. And each year they come back with something a little different. And if we don't build our herd immunity, I don't think that that's healthy long-term for a society. I think the flus will win if we don't have our herd immunity. And I am very concerned that we've made a huge policy mistake.
Yeah. You mentioned immunity, herd immunity, which is obviously a huge topic all around the world, Tim. Bill Gates is being interviewed by Vox earlier today, and they asked Gates, what's the big thing you wish we knew that we simply do not know? And his answer is, we don't know enough about the human immune response. That's very important, because if it's a very weak response, he says, then you're not protected from a second infection. How much of that are you taking into account?
Yeah, I think that's true. We don't know, but we are, I do believe that the at-risk population might benefit from being isolated, but the rest of the world is not benefiting from being isolated. I think it is true. We don't know. Different diseases come at us in different ways. We build our immunity to them, and then new ones come at us. If we don't build immunity to this one as a society, the next one could come with much more force. So that's why I'm concerned that it is very possible that this kind of closing down of economic activity and of human interaction is long-term. I mean, it's possible short-term that it did flatten the curve, and I've thought about that, and I thought, yes, if our hospitals can't handle it, absolutely, you've got to do something. But you've got to get people back together so that they can build their herd immunity again. And particularly young, healthy people, I think it's time, at least by now, it's time to open back up and start hugging and kissing again.
Tim, it's Morgan. Just to dig into that a little bit more, and I think you kind of just touched on this, but back on March 14th, you talked about the fact that the fear is far worse than the virus on Twitter. The governments have it wrong, stay open for business. 2 days later, you said, apparently my previous post timing was not very good. My apologies. I do believe that this 2-week lockdown is a good idea to flatten the virus curve. So when I hear you talk about now the fact that you feel like it's time to open back up, what are the specific data points that you're looking at to help predict the outlook that you're coming to? Why specifically, looking across all the different factors, all the different variables that are involved right now, do you believe now is the right time and it makes more sense?
Yeah, I think the curves have clearly flattened out. The hospitals have capacity in most places. I know New York has been really overwhelmed, but in most places, the hospitals have plenty of capacity. In fact, people are dying from other things because our hospitals are so locked down about this virus. And the numbers are coming out to be roughly the same amount of deaths as we had actually a little fewer deaths than we had from the flu in 2017, 2018. I'm thinking that, we may have overreacted here. And yes, my instinct at the very beginning was, yes, you lock down people, you close down economic activity, and that is bad for people. That shortens our lifespans, that makes our lives less interesting, less valuable. And I think that is happening right now. I mean, we are losing, I think we are losing long-term. And I mean, the flu it's the curve has flattened out, and even in New York, it's started to flatten out.
Well, Tim,
and it's going down in a lot of places. And so I'm thinking, well, wait, a lot of politicians will say, yeah, we locked you down, so that's why you don't have the disease and you're much better off. I'm not so sure that's true.
Well, Tim, I think it's important. This is John Ford. I think it's important to point out that previous statistics on the flu and deaths associated with the flu weren't necessarily calculated in a precise way. Flu and pneumonia were grouped together. It's not clear that the deaths number associated with flu is at the appropriate level. On the CDC website now, there are a number of entries kind of walking back the high number of flu-associated deaths, saying, well, really, maybe in the past, there weren't this many flu deaths. We were grouping pneumonia along with that and some other causes. So when you factor that in, plus the fact that we've had these lockdowns, it's really difficult to draw an apples-to-apples comparison with the number of COVID-19 deaths we've had this year and the number of flu deaths that we may or may not have had in previous years. Don't we need to make that distinction?
Yeah, I think clearly we're getting better with data over time. But even the COVID-19 deaths that are claimed COVID-19 could be dying from heart attack, diabetes, a number of other things, pneumonia, and they're being glommed together in the COVID-19 data. And I think that data, I'm looking down at this data. It's typically 300 to 600,000 people die globally from the flu. We don't know that it's from the flu. That's the point, though, Tim, is that flu-associated deaths, not all those people were tested for flu. Pneumonia's being grouped in there that might not be flu-associated. So it's just a little difficult. They may be over promoting the number of deaths due to COVID-19 too. So I'm saying there are fewer global deaths from the flu than there are typically. And we're sitting here shutting down the economy and keeping ourselves separate for possibly no reason, and long term, it may be very dangerous. It may be, we may be starting to lose herd immunity. Bubble boy is always, the people who are the most protected are often the ones who have the most vulnerable to various diseases. The people who are out there the most, like, for instance, India, the people who are just on top of each other all the time, they have the best immunity in the world. We should learn from that too. I'm just saying, look, it is very possible we got it wrong, and we got it wrong big all the way around the world. And that, I think we've got to open back up right now. Now, if you feel
Tim,
like you are at risk, you are part of the at-risk population, stay in place. But if you are not a part of the at-risk population, it is time to get out and start building our economy back, because that will save lives.
And that means, Tim, that you yourself would have no qualms about going to a concert, a restaurant, getting on a plane, anything like that starting today?
No problem. No problem. I wouldn't be surprised if I've already been through I wouldn't be surprised if I've already been infected because I've traveled all over the world. I've met with thousands of people. I would have no problem.